I had this moment where I thought, oh yeah, that's something I could do in the future. And then I turned around and thought, no, this is something you have to do now, because if not, you will never do it. And then I realized that whether or not I would do it, the time would pass anyway. It's the same thing with like doing exercise or going on a diet. Whether or not you do it, the time will pass, and then you will be at the point months later where I could have done this.
Hi and welcome, I'm Sue Parker, and today I'm sharing with you an interview with Ronke Babajide. Ronke is a remarkable woman, and you will learn this as soon as you hear her bio. You will be astounded at all the things that Ronke does. And today I want to introduce you to her. She has been an incredible friend of mine for the last year, and definitely an inspiration in the work I do. Always gives me that boost, always gives me that little push, and always reminds me what's possible. So Ronke Babajide has been making a successful career in IT for over 25 years now. She's worked for some incredibly large companies, and more recently in pre-sales. So she's worked for Riverbed, Radware and VMware. Currently, she's a lead solutions engineer at VMware, and this is one of the largest technology companies in the world. It's easy to forget, but VMware is absolutely huge. She's also the founder and CEO, and this is what I really want to talk about, of the Queen Beehive. It's a platform to help women experts become more visible and to collaborate more successfully. So if you're looking for a female speaker, a female expert in anything, you want to support the she economy, then the Queen Beehive is going to be the new platform to go to. She's been a speaker at numerous events such as including the Women in Tech Global Conference. She spoke at the WT2 Women Transforming Technology Conference. She's spoke at various talent acquisition events, women in tech meetups. Ronke is a really big advocate for diversity and is always doing what she can to promote it. And I think the new platform is a really good example of a mission-led business. In her Women in Tech Spotlight podcast series, she also showcases women who work in technology, the careers that are available, and how people can develop to inspire others and to show others that not all tech careers involve sitting and coding behind a computer. On her podcast, she also facilitates panel discussions. I had the pleasure of being in one of those panel discussions last year when we did the Choose to Challenge panel discussions, but there's others where she will talk about the gender pay gap and various other issues in relation to inequality. She also mentors via the Women in Tech Network and the WOW Mentor. And on top of all that, she does have a private life. Ronke lives in Vienna with her husband, her 3 Siberian cats, and in her free time, she even runs 2 book clubs. She loves writing, cooking, you can check out her Medium page, and spending time with family and friends. When I say she's superwoman, I think sometimes she is. In this episode, we talk all about Ronke's tech career and how she's moved countries and accepted the discomfort of trying new things. We talk about the Women in Tech podcast series, but most importantly, we talk about her mission-led business. We talk about the Queen Beehive, launching, outsourcing, funding, and overcoming perhaps a little bit of confidence or something holding you back and saying you can always work on that in the future. I'm hoping that by the end of this episode, like me, you will feel inspired to take an idea to launch. You will take that idea and no longer think I'm going to do this tomorrow. You'll start thinking, no, tomorrow starts today. And that's what I'm hoping you'll get from this episode. So if you have any comments, I would love to hear from you. You can pop over to my blog, it's sueparker.io, and you can leave me a comment on there and I'll be sure to get back to you. Or you can always tag me on social media with this episode and let me know what's your biggest takeaway.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for having me. It actually sounds as if I'm working 24/7. It's interesting.
I got to say, I always knew you had a lot of projects going on, but I've got to say, when I read everything that was going on, I was thinking, wow, how does this woman do this? How does this woman have an incredibly successful career, is now launching this business as a CEO and founder, also has this incredibly, involved home life, which is where running these book clubs and doing all the other things I know you do, but also still being so mission focused and having this cause. And I guess that's you kind of have this really good integration going on.
It's an interesting thing, and it's also part of what happened with the pandemic. These last 2 years have freed up a lot of my time because I used to be how can I say I used to be out more. I used to go to meetups, I used to go to events, I went to the gym 5 times a week, I did kickboxing and all these stuff. And then the pandemic hit and there was all this free time that needed to be filled. And yeah, so this is where the time comes from, I think.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely a lot of change has gone on. Well, we met in the LinkedIn Content Challenge. I remember we were both joining this challenge with Adela so that we could put more content out there, inspire others, empower others, and we kind of gelled on this empowering women topic. And I remember, going through this period of change where you were all of a sudden we were putting things out there on the LinkedIn platform that was about building our personal brand alongside our professional image. So I remember that really well. And we kind of gelled on the women's empowerment piece and did the Choose to Challenge panel discussions off the back of the International Women's Day last year. So lots of those coming out again. I can't believe it's this year, is coming up very soon. So perhaps really to set the scene before we start to talk about how we've got to where we are today is to talk through your story, Ronke, and how you've come to be involved in so many things today.
Yes, so I actually grew up in a very traditional family. My mother was a homemaker, as they say. She stayed at home, she did not work. I have two brothers and a sister, so I did not necessarily have a role model, a female role model in terms of as a career woman. She was very supportive, and she never made a difference between my brothers and my sister and myself. But still, the role of the woman was that of a housewife. Basically, my father had been to university, he had a degree in economics. And I must say that there was a very big emphasis on education in our family. My father is Nigerian, and that's the thing with Nigerians. They expect you to go to university, and if you can, become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. So that was the same for me and my brother, and I think that is what set the scene basically for me. Just believing that education and university and all these things were for women as well. And I went to university. So I grew up in Nigeria, but then I came to Austria, to Vienna, because my mother is from this country, and I studied chemistry. So not actually tech, but STEM. And during my master's and my PhD thesis, I came into contact with computers. It was in the 90s of the last century. It sounds so crazy, actually, when I say it this way. But yeah, so that was the time the internet was becoming a thing in Austria as well. We already had an internet access, a very good one actually, at the university. And I came into contact with Linux Unix system. I had to learn how to program because I was doing this 3D models of proteins for my dissertation. And there I quickly realized that it was more fun to work with computers, to be on the internet, be part of this technology revolution, actually, because that's how I saw it. For me, it was this technology that would make it possible to talk and interact with people on the other side of the world. And we already did that at the university. We would sit just with our, terminals, with our CLIs, and talk to people sitting in the US. So there was this feeling um, of pioneering and this feeling of, going to new shores. So yeah, so I quickly decided that after I finished my PhD thesis, I would go into tech, and that's what I did. And my first job was at a company called Web3 TV, which at the time, and that was then at the end of the 90s, early 2000, I started working at that company that wanted to provide video content for everyone on the internet and wanted to enable people to share video content. But obviously, the technology was not at that point. Everyone was serving with a modem, and then also nobody had smartphones or anything. So they had envisioned like having telephone cells around the city where people would go in, and there would be video cameras, and you could upload your content. Which seems crazy looking back, but
they were just a bit too early, were they?
Yeah, but they were just too early with that idea, because then, like in 2005, YouTube came along and did exactly that. But then we already had, digital cameras, and then there was an actually opportunity to upload your own content and create your own content. But that was my step into that world. I started out as a web developer, and quickly the funds of that company ran out, and I moved on to another company. Actually, I left and I got an offer to work for an insurance software company in Munich. And I moved to Munich on a whim because I had never been to Munich before. And I came back to Vienna in 2006 and thought, okay, I want to do something else with my life. Tech isn't it? And the reason I thought that was the job that I had in Munich was very much what you have in your head when you think about working in tech. I was sitting in front of the computer, just, scripting and doing administrating and never or barely talking to people during the day. And this is not what I wanted. I wanted to have a chance to talk to people, and I did not know that there was a chance to do that in tech. So I decided to do another career switch actually, and I started working for a friend who had an incentive travel agency for high class incentive travel. And it seemed really interesting from the outside, but then it turned out it was even less talking to people than it was before, because I spent most of my time just sitting in the office writing to hotels and other companies whether they still had availability. So it was, and then I just went out and looked at the job boards, what was out there, and there was this job opening for a solution in, actually it was called a sales engineer. I had no clue what that was, but I applied anyway. And it was at a an IBM partner company, and they did hire me. And that's when I actually found a job that included everything I wanted to do. It was with tech, and it was going out with to talk to people, to actually interact with people, to explain what technology was about, why they should buy it, what they could do with it. And it was like the perfect combination of all the things I wanted to do. I feel that this job, but I have to say that is something pre-pandemic, is a job where no day is like the other. Which, what does that mean? It means I would wake up in the morning and I would drive to some customer, or I would get on a plane, and basically I would never know what the situation would look like I would get myself into. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed getting to know new people. I enjoyed getting to know new companies. And I enjoyed explaining technology to people. And I enjoyed seeing things come to life. Let's put it that way. Now, I have to say that during the pandemic, this has changed a little bit. A lot of our jobs have moved just into our home offices, sitting in front of the screen, doing presentations through Zoom. And I'm no longer that enthusiastic about it, but that is really because of the situation we're all living in. So I still feel that pre-sales is the perfect job for if you don't want to be the one who is into the deepest bits and bytes, but still enjoy technology, enjoy working with people, that is the thing to do. And you also earn a lot of money, so let's not hide that fact.
Also, when you saw that job and that sales engineer role, and you didn't know what was involved, and you got it and went to do it, how did you feel about turning out?
I must say, that's a good question. Actually, I was very confused actually for a while. I know, and the thing is, I didn't know what that role really was. So what I saw was it was around technology that I was familiar with, because it was a IBM partner company, and they hired me to help them with selling P series, and so the P series were servers that ran this operation system that I knew, and I thought, well, yeah, how difficult can it be? So I just yeah, I applied, and then they hired me, and then I was working there. And in the beginning, it was a different world, because the job was so different from what I had done before. And a lot of it didn't seem like working to me, really, because it's a lot about, meeting people, talking to them, having coffee with them, influencing them. And it seemed like everyone was having a lot of fun. Not necessarily doing what you would think is work.
Yeah, I love that. How difficult can it be? And not enough of us say that about something. Too many of us tell ourselves, well, I can't do that, I can't understand it, it's too technical. How difficult can it be? I love that mantra. So today I really want to talk more about the diversity and the women in tech, and the women's empowerment work that you're doing. So perhaps if we start with the podcast, on what your vision was for the podcast and how that's kind of evolving, and then we'll talk about the name for it, and then I want to talk about your platform. So let's do that.
Yeah. So obviously, I've been in tech for quite a while. I switched the career in 2000, I think it was. So it's 20 years ago, and the field was different then. It was mostly men. And I have been the only woman in the room for a long time and very, very frequently. So for me, that was okay. I never really minded, and I had a lot of fun, and I had a lot of support, and I never really felt the pressure. Looking back, I would say I did feel it. I just didn't acknowledge it, and I just moved on. But what I also realized is that there was something missing. And when a while ago, someone at our company started a WISE network, which is a women in system engineering network, we had this big initial Zoom call where all these women were in the call, and I was looking at that screen and thinking, "Wow, this is such a pivotal moment, to see a screen at work that was full of women, and not just like marketing and HR or something where they would hire women before, but those were all technical women, and it was such a big, I don't know, surge of emotion really that happened there, that I felt, yes, this is exactly what we need. We need to see more of ourselves out there, because it does help you understand that you're not alone. Even if you're in that meeting room alone with a lot of men, you have this picture in your head and there are others out there. The situation has changed. When I worked at Riverbed, I was told I was the only female system engineer in all of Europe in the company. So, I mean, this is a situation. Of course, they were really proud that I was there in their team, but on the other hand, this is ridiculous. And now it's different, and I think we have to make sure that it gets even better. And then, and the idea behind the podcast was to put these roles that we actually have here in tech out there. There was always this discussion, we have to get more women into tech. How can we get more women into tech? And I don't have an answer to that, but I do think that to get more women in tech, we actually have to explain what we do there. And one of the ways to do that for me is to have these interviews with women in different roles and then show what they do, and have them explain why they like to do it and why they think this is a good job for women. And then I also want to put out those female leaders. I have a couple of directors and managers on my channel just to show there is a possibility to actually rise as well. Of course, it's still more difficult than if you're a man, but the possibility is there. And I want young women and girls to show that, to see that. And that's why I started this channel. And I can't really believe that, because I feel it has been only yesterday. I'm actually at the 50th episode of this. And I think that's amazing, and it has been empowering for me as well, because I met all these great women and I had all these inspiring conversations. So yeah.
Okay, so that's called the Women in Tech Spotlight series, yeah? And we can find that on your LinkedIn channel, which I'll post in the show notes and we'll talk about at the end. But for now, I've been checking out a preview. I got a sneak peek at your new platform, which I'm incredibly excited behind. So I want to talk about the mission behind it. But first of all, would you like to introduce the name of your new platform?
Yeah. The platform is called the Queen Beehive, because I felt it would be a place where all these queens came together and promoted their work. So it was kind of a combination of everyone being a queen and then this activity in a beehive. But there's no worker bees here. There's just queens, and that's the name basically.
I love that sentiment. I love that sentiment. I mean, one of the things that struck me on there, I think a lot about our economy and corporates and how our economy is structured. And it's obviously been built, very male history, if you like, that has built up a lot of these institutions, a lot of these rules and things. And I love on there, you talk about funding a woman's economy. And I always think, if we had this level of equality, how much different perhaps our systems and our institutions would be if there had been equality throughout, generating them, creating them, building them. So What is the mission behind the platform?
Well, the idea started when I was on a walk with a friend. We do these meeting walks and try to come up with ideas. And she talked about her she's a personal trainer actually, and she talked about her new studio and how she was cooperating with a physiotherapist and how difficult it had been to find a female physiotherapist. So I remember that I face this issue often because I also prefer to work with women. And if I have money to give on a project, I try to hand it out to women. So, for example, I've stopped cutting my own podcast videos and I have found a young woman who does that for me because I just feel um, that if I don't give my money to women, who will? You know, and I know a lot of other women try to do that as well. And then we have the situation that we go to Facebook groups, we go to people and we start asking, do you know someone? And I thought, wouldn't it be great to have this place where you could go and get recommendations and you could be sure and you would have a database to find all these women. And then you have this possibility to actually give your women the women the money that you have and not give it to men again. And then there's this whole discussion every time there is something to do. If you need a speaker, there's always this, oh, we can't find a woman. And I think we can change that by, creating this place where you can say, okay, if you can't find someone, go there and check because there is definitely a woman for that job, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've seen those posts as well. I can't find women speakers or women trainers or
Yeah,
workshop hosts. I want a woman, and you hear this and at least 10 or 15 women that you could
exactly.
recommend if they'd have only asked.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, that's a really great mission. And it's quite interesting. And thank you for the recommendation on the podcast editor, by the way. That's a game changer, really. But so I love the fact that you do meeting walks for ideas. I think that's a brilliant idea. So I've just written that one down. That's a new one to go in. But I love the idea of being able to go to this place. And if you want to support, because one of the things I read the other day was women don't need more mentorships. We don't need more mentor programs. We need funding. We need money. We need people to support us when, we're getting going. We're startup. We're just starting out. And I think this is a really good opportunity. I noticed there was a section on there that you can advertise your services and things, as well as being a speaker and an expert on things. So I definitely can see there is a massive need. And what can we expect next then? So talk about launch dates. I want details.
So now currently we're just doing some beta testing, and by the end of the month I'm hoping to be done and actually launch it to the public. Now, as you said, there is this possibility to register, and then you can present yourself. You can actually also upload some pictures of maybe if you were a speaking assignment and there's a picture of you, or you actually create something, because this is not just for women in tech, this is for every woman. I also want women who, for example, do crafts and they sell them. They can go there and they can also highlight some of their work there. And and that's for free. Only then if you go into the database and you search for someone to cooperate with or to speak at your event, then you would have to pay a small fee. And I'm trying to keep that really low. So it's like €5 per month or 50 per year if you want to save some money and you need it more often. Because for now, I just want to make sure that I can support the platform and also support developing more features, because the next thing I want to do is bring events on there, not just my events. I want to create the opportunity for the members to also present their events. For example, I had again with my friend this discussion last week, and she's now opened her own little studio, and she's planning to have like this weekend brunch and training session. So where you could, like, only 5 people or something, you could have like a training and then you would have brunch together. And things like that, you need a platform to do some marketing and promoting, and that's the next thing that I'm planning. And of course I need some funds, because for now I've paid for the development myself. And I have lots of other ideas to also include kind of a training platform and all these things, but that's like future, next year, not too long into the future, midterm, let's put it that way.
Fantastic. That sounds absolutely fantastic.
And I also want to mention something. The presentation of your skills and the registering, the free registering is available for women. But of course, a paid membership where you then look for a woman to work with is also available for men, because obviously there are a lot of men out there looking to work with women and to support us. And of course they can register as well. They just can't present themselves because they have enough opportunities to present themselves anyway.
Yeah, I love that. It's about showcasing
Yeah.
and giving the opportunity to promote women for all those reasons that we said earlier. Now that sounds absolutely fantastic. I guess what I'm thinking is it's such a brave thing to do. And you seem to have done so many courageous things in your career and pivoting and taking jobs you didn't really understand, but you have this really positive attitude that you will make it work, you will find a way. And I think that really comes across. And I just wondered if somebody else has got an idea, and they're back where you perhaps were 6 months ago, however long it was when you first came to this this idea, this light bulb moment. What advice would you say to them if they're hesitant, if they're struggling with self-doubt and they don't have that?
That's a good point. And thank you for saying that it looks like I do a lot of courageous things, because looking back, I realized I had a lot of ideas that I didn't actually move on, and I could have, because for example I was around when the internet started and I had a lot of ideas that I would have liked to see come to life, but I didn't do it myself. And when I was thinking about that platform last year, I had this moment where I thought, oh yeah, that's something I could do in the future. And then I turned around and thought, no, this is something you have to do now, because if not, you will never do it. And then I realized that whether or not I would do it, the time would pass anyway. It's the same thing with like doing exercise or going on a diet. Whether or not you do it, the time will pass, and then you will be at the point months later where I could have done this. And the only way to find out if something can be successful is actually to try it out. And that's maybe what I learned throughout my life, that no matter whether you do it or not do it, time will pass, and you never know if it will work if you don't try.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess the only other thing I picked up on with your platform is talking about the next phase that you want to take it to, and that you'll need it to get the ball rolling so that it can start to fund itself and drive
Mhm.
some investment in there. And I think there's also an element of a lot of people have an idea, but they don't have the money to
Yeah,
start off.
yeah.
So I think the idea of going and finding investors is scary. And the
Mhm.
idea of putting in your money is also quite scary and feels risky. And I think some women are risk adverse. And I think this is kind of embedded in us from when we're young. Do the sensible thing. You're always praised for doing the sensible thing. It's people
True.
pleasing. You make the sensible decisions for everybody around you. And I think that I just wondered, what's your
Mhm.
thoughts or about funding something and taking that risk and
Okay, I have to say, I'm lucky because I had a really well paid job for the last 12, 15 years. And I had the opportunity to put some money aside and actually fund that. Um, the other thing is, I concentrated on a part that wasn't really that expensive yet. So I found a designer and I found a developer, and the three of us, we basically did this with me just giving the money and the ideas and them doing the actual work. And I looked at what I asked them what it would cost to do that. And then I looked at the funds I have and how much I could take from that fund to just, take a risk. And that's the money I'm using to do this. And as I said, I'm lucky that I have this opportunity because of this paid job I'm in. So I do understand that if you have an idea and you don't have this fund, it gets so much more complicated, because then you are in the situation that you have to go and ask people for money. And we do know that women um, get funded much less frequently than men do, even if they have the same kind of ideas. And there's this issue that ideas that women have often don't resonate with the men that have the money. They don't understand why we would want to build a platform like that. So I don't think I would have found a man to give me money for this. I'm very open about that. I didn't even try asking anyone for money because I thought this would just lead to unnecessary discussions and discouragement. So I don't have a good answer on what to do if you don't have the money. one recommendation I would give is, if it is something that you feel is important, to go to another woman who might have the money, or find friends or something, female friends, because women tend to understand better the ideas that other women have, and we have sometimes other needs and ideas that men would have, so maybe concentrate on getting women to fund you.
And I also know how difficult it can be to outsource. So the fact that you've got two people on your project working with you already, yeah,
Yeah, that,
kudos.
I must say, I'm so stoked about that, because I found these two women, and it was like, it was so easy. Of course, with one of them, the web developer, with Adriana, had already worked on the Women in Vienna tech team. I was the team lead there for a while, and I knew she was capable of doing that. I was lucky she had the time to support me. And the other one, Radhika, was someone she recommended to me, and it was like, I talked about my idea. I put that out there. I did a wireframe of what it was supposed to be able to do. But then I told them the story behind it, and Radhika did the design, and she showed me this design, and it was immediately what I wanted. I mean, you have seen the page, and she did that. That was her first design. I mean, but yeah, that was such a big help, having two women who understood what I wanted to make happen.
Yeah.
And that's also a recommendation. Find someone who understands the vision, because if you have to explain every little detail, it doesn't work.
So we've confirmed it's the Queen Bee Hive, and we're going to be launching, did you say the end of February? So pretty soon?
Yes, that is the plan. We are going to do the beta testing for the next couple of days, and I hope we don't find any grave errors. And then we will be launching at the end of the month. And the other thing is that, and I know you said I do a lot of stuff at the same time, but I've realized that I need like a couple of months of break to actually focus on myself and these things I want to bring to life, just to make sure to get the ball rolling. And I will be resigning from my job tomorrow, to have these 2-3 months to work on other things, on all these other projects, and find some more balance. And then I'll decide if I go back to being in braces, which I love and I hope will be fun again as soon as the pandemic dies down, or if I will focus even more on what I'm doing now.
So quick fire round for you. I've got 3 questions. And the first one is the book on your bedstand right now.
I'm currently reading the reading list. Sorry, I have forgotten what the name of the writer is. It's a woman. It's for my book club, which is on Wednesday, and I have to finish it before that. And it's a book about actually, it's a book about books.
Sounds it.
And it is about a reading list people find, and they seem to be finding the same reading list everywhere. Is different characters in that book, and on that book reading list, there are books like To Kill a Mockingbird, there is Rebecca, there is Beloved, there is The Kite Runner. And all these books have some kind of connection to the character, and it's about what the books elicit in those people, how they help them to connect to situations in their own life. And I'm actually enjoying it quite a lot, because it reminds me very much of the way I enjoyed books throughout my life, and how they took me to other places, how they helped me make sense of the world I live in. So yeah, that's what I'm
Fantastic.
reading.
I will look up the author and I'll make sure it's in the show notes, the reading list.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the thing that you're learning about right now.
I just started a LinkedIn learning course about personal branding, just to see if
Okay.
I'm doing it right.
You will love this. So I've been preparing some content on this, and also had the Amelia Sordell attend my podcast. So she has a fantastic following. She's all about LinkedIn personal branding. So look out for that one, because
Okay,
I think
you.
she's just value a minute. Finally, 3 words to describe what fulfillment means to you.
Oh, it means to me, it means feeling passion. It means feeling whole, and it means feeling connected to others, actually, and doing something worthwhile with them.
Words. Is there any final thoughts you'd like to share with us, Ronke?
Don't let that little voice inside your head stop you from just trying stuff out. And as I said earlier, time goes by, and I mean, in the end, when we reach the end, we will be sorry we didn't do more, I think.
I love it. Thank you. Ronke Babajide, thank you so much for joining me on the show and empowering and sharing your story with others. And don't forget to check out the Queen Beehive when it launches. And you can sign up if you're an expert, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a speaker, get your profile on there, start building your presence, but also direct people. If you hear anybody say that they are looking for a speaker, they're looking for somebody, anything, in fact, let's really promote this platform because it has a fantastic mission behind it and we all need it to succeed. Thank you, Ronke. Have a fantastic week.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for having me.
Bye. Just right before you head off, I wanted to say I am super grateful to have you here with me. It's actually a really lonely journey, or it can feel like it. And if you feel like this, then I hope that you'll reach out and have a connection with me, a deeper connection, and be part of the community. Because I hope that you'll recognize the authenticity in some of these episodes that I'm trying to share. Which goes against what we're taught to do all the way through our lives, which is be professional and don't share too much. I'm not that kind of social media person, you'll know, that shares pictures of their entire families everywhere and too much detail. But that can mean sometimes that you do feel a bit alone, you feel like the odd one out and that nobody else gets you. And I wanted to do these episodes because I believe that there are other people out there who feel like me, who want a bit more freedom, who do kind of follow their own path or have their own vision in their mind, and it's not the same as everyone else. I hope that this empowers you to have a great life and to have these breakthrough moments where you start to take more control and create more freedom and that business that you want. And to do that on a deeper level, it would be really great if you head over to the blog. It's sueparker.io, and subscribe on my website to the newsletter so I can have that deeper connection with you. We can do that deep dive and we can start to build that community. Also subscribe to the podcast so that you hear every time we have a new episode on the kind of things that we're covering, so that you don't have to be alone. You don't have to be alone on this journey. For now, I hope that you have a fantastic week, and I can't wait to talk to you again next week. Bye.